The Radical Rebellion, Why Stillness Trumps Hustle in the Race for True Success. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I stand before you with a message that may seem counterintuitive, even revolutionary in our achievement obsessed world. It's a message that emerged from my profound conversation with Lakesha Moore on the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast, a visionary whose work has fundamentally reshaped how we think about success, particularly for Black women professionals navigating hostile workplace environments. Lakesha Moore isn't just a coach or mentor, she is a paradigm shifter, a truth teller whose courage to challenge the status quo has created ripples of transformation across communities. Her work has liberated countless professionals from the tyranny of hustle culture, helping them reclaim their power, their peace, and their purpose. In a world that demands constant motion, Laksha dares to advocate for stillness, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. What struck me most about my conversation with Laksha was this radical truth. Doing less can actually lead to more clarity, more peace, more purpose, and more aligned success. This idea feels almost blasphemous in today's world, doesn't it? We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to do more, be more, achieve more. Hustle culture has become our modern religion. The unspoken commandment seems to be, thou shalt be busy at all times, and thou shalt feel guilty in moments of rest. But what if this fundamental assumption is wrong? What if the path to true success isn't through constant motion, but through strategic stillness? What if our obsession with productivity is actually making us less effective, less creative, and less fulfilled? This is the profound wisdom Lakesha Moore shared with me. Wisdom that has the power to transform not just how we work, but how we live. Let me share three key insights from our conversation that might just change how you approach your professional journey. First, intentional stillness isn't laziness, it's a success strategy. When Lakesha spoke about this concept, she emphasized that slowing down represents an intentional and sacred pause that's essential for sustainable, soul aligned success. This mindset directly challenges the hustle culture that many Black professionals face daily. We're working twice as hard to get half as far has become normalized. Lakesha reframes rest not as weakness, but as a powerful tool for clarity and growth. Think about that for a moment. In a world that equates busyness with importance and productivity with worth, choosing stillness becomes a radical act of self determination. The second insight Laksha shared is equally powerful. You are not behind, you are becoming. The pressure to constantly prove oneself through perpetual busyness is profoundly harmful, especially for Black women professionals who often face the double burden of racism and sexism in the workplace. Healing and progress come from honoring where you are in your journey without comparison or self judgment. And finally, Lakesha emphasized that releasing past hindrances enables future freedom. Letting go of past burdens, whether they are unrealistic expectations, painful workplace experiences, or internalized limiting beliefs, opens space for clarity, peace, and the freedom to move forward authentically, both personally and professionally. These insights might sound simple, but their implementation requires courage, especially in professional environments that often devalue and marginalize Black women's contributions. Let me share some powerful stories that illustrate these principles in action. Meet Letitia Clark, who created a platform similar to the Pink Parachute Diaries, specifically to amplify Black women's voices in professional spaces where silence around struggles had become the norm. Letitia witnessed something disturbing in corporate America. Talented Black women were losing their jobs silently, disappearing from companies without acknowledgement. while others, often less qualified, thrived unfairly. The isolation was suffocating. Black women professionals were suffering behind closed doors, afraid to speak their truth, afraid to show vulnerability in environments already hostile to their presence. The fear was real. Would sharing struggles only reinforce negative stereotypes? Would vulnerability be weaponized against them? Rather than accepting this reality, Letitia paused. She stepped back from the relentless pace of her own career to create something revolutionary, a safe space for authentic storytelling that broke the silence around trauma and built an intentional community validating these experiences. The impact was immediate and profound. Women who had felt isolated in their struggles suddenly found community. Stories of resilience empowered listeners to face their own challenges. What began as one woman's decision to pause and create space transformed into a movement that positively impacted the mental health and professional trajectories of countless Black professionals. This is what intentional stillness as a strategy looks like. Not rushing to the next thing, but pausing to create something meaningful that addresses a deep need. Then there's Rashanda Booker, whose work explores how redefining achievement empowers Black professionals without compromising mental health or identity. Rashonda recognized a devastating pattern. Talented individuals were sacrificing themselves silently in workplaces that undervalued them. The cultural narrative demanding sacrifice at the cost of identity was creating burnout and disconnection on a massive scale. Rashonda's approach embodied our second principle: you are not behind, you are becoming. She encouraged professionals to embrace their whole selves authentically while building supportive networks that prioritize well being alongside career growth. The results were transformative. Participants reported sustained fulfillment personally and collectively with dramatically reduced burnout rates. Rashonda's work shifted industry conversations toward inclusive definitions of success that prioritize holistic wellness, creating influential platforms that amplify underrepresented voices. And consider Jacqueline Mitchell's initiative, Let's Get This Glow Up, which promotes healing as integral to excellence among Black professionals navigating hostile environments. Jacqueline had witnessed firsthand the harm caused by traditional notions equating toughness with leadership, the pressure to compartmentalize trauma while performing, leading to incomplete narratives about success that cause profound harm. Embodying our third principle, releasing past hindrances enables future freedom. Jacqueline developed programs integrating healing practices into professional development, emphasizing wholeness over mere resilience. Participants reported improved mental health outcomes alongside career advancements aligning with their values. Her movement is redefining power dynamics in workplaces, supporting authenticity over exhaustion, and influencing broader acceptance that healing fuels sustainable leadership, transforming organizational cultures from the inside out. These stories reveal something profound. When we challenge the assumption that more is always better, we create space for transformation that benefits not just individuals, but entire communities. This brings me back to my conversation with Lakesha Moore. What makes her perspective so valuable is that it offers a different metric for success, one that centers wholeness, authenticity, and sustainability rather than just productivity and achievement. For Black women professionals, especially, this perspective is revolutionary. In environments where they're often expected to conform, to shrink themselves, to work harder for less recognition, choosing intentional stillness becomes an act of resistance and self preservation. As Laksha shared with me, that the pause is where your power lives. When we stop the constant doing, we create space to reconnect with our purpose, to realign with our values, and to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than reactivity. This isn't about abandoning ambition or lowering standards, quite the opposite. It's about pursuing success in a way that honors your whole self and creates sustainable impact rather than momentary achievement followed by burnout. I'm reminded of the African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Perhaps we could add, and if you want to go with purpose, pause along the way. The beauty of intentional stillness is that it creates space for community. When we're not constantly rushing from one task to the next, we have time to build meaningful connections, to mentor others, to share our stories, and listen to different perspectives. This is how movements are built. This is how change happens. In my conversation with Laksha, she emphasized that this approach to success isn't just beneficial for individuals, it has the power to transform organizations and systems. When we value rest as much as productivity, when we prioritize wholeness over hustle, we create environments where everyone can thrive. Imagine workplaces where taking time for reflection is seen as essential rather than indulgent. Imagine professional cultures that measure success not just by outputs, but by sustainability and well being. Imagine leadership that models boundaries and self care rather than perpetual availability. This vision may seem distant from the reality many of us experience, but change begins with individual choices that ripple outward. As Lakesha Moore has shown through her work, when we give ourselves permission to pause, to be still, to do less in service of being more aligned, we create new possibilities, not just for ourselves, but for others. So I challenge you today: reject the lie that your worth is measured by your productivity. Refuse the false gospel of hustle culture that demands your exhaustion as proof of your commitment. Resist the pressure to perform at the expense of your well being. Instead, dare to pause, dare to be still, dare to do less so that what you do can matter more. What one area in your life or career could you slow down intentionally right now? How might doing less there open up space for greater clarity, peace, purpose, or aligned success? This isn't just a nice idea, it's a revolutionary act in a world addicted to motion. It's a declaration that you are more than what you produce. It's a reclamation of your humanity in systems designed to treat you as a machine. The most radical thing you can do in a culture of constant striving is to be still. The most disruptive choice you can make in an economy that commodifies your time is to pause. The most revolutionary stance you can take in a society that equates busyness with value is to say, I'm enough, exactly as I am. So today, I invite you, no, I implore you to join this quiet rebellion, to embrace the power of pause, to discover that in doing less, you might just become more than you ever imagined possible. Thank you.